from our visit to Cox's Bazar and talking to the people on the ground. I mean, we're not Bangladeshi, we don't really know much. So for me, it's my first visit to Cox's Bazar, and it is a harrowing experience, I would say. But from that meeting I had, especially in the food center, the food facilities, it's very clear that they give us some data, and I would like to share that data with you. Number one, the UNHCR and IOM and the entire operation there spent around $200 million a year for food alone to feed 1.4 million refugees in the camps in Bangladesh. Yeah, so it's about $200 million. On average, about $17 million a month. Yeah, but if you do the numbers and narrow it down, it's about $12 per person per month. It's not much. It comes down to around $1.50 a day. So this is not unreasonable. No, not $1.50, just 50 cents a day. So it's not an unreasonable amount that the UNHCR is supplying the refugees. But that numbers are going to drop dramatically sometime in end of November. So in the 1st of December, just before the Christmas season, the US aid will be cut quite severely. And when US aid is cut by Trump quite severely, I think Bangladesh will face immediately a $200 million question a year. Again, I say we are ASEAN members of parliament. We have to start to recognize Rohingyans are ASEAN people. Therefore, we are going back to our own respective countries. With 𝗔𝗯𝗃𝗃𝗃 in Thailand and our colleagues in Indonesia and Singapore and also Cambodia, to tell them to prepare some sort of humanitarian fund to help contribute towards this 200 million. I can't say how much they will contribute, but the very least is we must do something. Yeah? So you have a 200 million problem coming. We need to do something now. So we'll go back and say, look, can Malaysia contribute something? Singapore contribute something? We need to find a formula. And the good news is ASEAN already have such a vehicle to do it. It's the AHA. Yeah, the ASEAN Humanitarian Aid Fund can be utilized for this because it's a humanitarian crisis. Yeah? So we hope that when we go back, and because we have an ASEAN summit coming in November, that this will be a core important topic, and we're trying our best to invite Chief Advisor, who is a very good friend of my Prime Minister, Anwar Ibrahim, to come and make a statement about this crisis, this food crisis. So we are hopeful, but I think the first step, as Charles has pointed out, we need to take the fact that we have to burden share more on this matter, and not just give it as a Bangladesh or international community problem. Yeah? So I will just pause for a while to take a photo. Okay? Thank you. Now, second issue. We know that the Rohingya crisis started in 2017. It's okay, I'll hold it. We know the Rohingya crisis started in 2017. In fact, a bit earlier, 2016. But since 2021, there's been a civil war in Myanmar. As a result, the Myanmar civil war is more on the ASEAN mindset at the moment. We've been trying very hard through the 5-point consensus to try to find a solution to this civil war. We understand that the Myanmar government or the Myanmar junta intends to have an election by end of this year. I think most of us in at least in APHR is going to reject this idea outright, because you cannot have an election when you only control 40% of the land. You cannot have an election in a war zone. what the resistance movement, whether it's the 𝗲𝗲𝗃𝗃, the 𝗥𝗃, we also need to get their feedback on what that election potentially mean to them. But in the Rohingya case, we need to be very clear. If the Rohingya people cannot unite now, whether in the camps or the diaspora or those in the Rakhine state, if they cannot unite now, they will not be part of that election equation at all. If, say, the resistance agree to have an election together with the junta, if they agree, then obviously the Rohingya needs to be part of that equation. But if they don't get their act together now, they will be left out. And at the end, Bangladesh will be left with this problem of 1.4 million increasing every year of refugees in your territory. So I did raise this matter with Professor Yunus, and that we need to do a bit more to help the Rohingya to find an identity, a political identity, so that they can get a seat in any process, whether it's election, which we don't support by the way, whether it's in the election or in any other conferences moving forward, they need to have some political representation. Otherwise, they will not be part of the equation. And that's a great worry for me. Yeah? So election-wise, most of us who are progressive human rights MPs, we don't think this election should be recognized by any logical government. It makes no sense. You cannot have election when you only control so little land. But having said that, if it happens anyway, how do we respond to that? It still comes back to the Rohingya crisis. Rohingya needs leadership. So we hope that the Bangladesh government will try to nurture or try to invite the diaspora, the refugees in the camp, those even in the Rakhine state, to come together, work together and try to form something more unified. Otherwise, that opportunity, when the war comes to an end, eventually it will have to come to an end, the civil war. We need to ensure the Rohingyas have a chance to go back to Rakhine state. So those are the bigger picture. I mean, I'm not an expert. First time coming to Bangladesh, I like your food. It's very nice. Your traffic is crazy, but your food is great. But, just understanding on the ground, meeting these people tells you very clearly that they're lacking in some sort of leadership issue. So until you solve that leadership, it's difficult for Rohingyas to go back to Rakhine. Okay? With that, I pass on the mic to my friend.
Hello, can I be heard? Hello? Hello, good morning everyone. My name is 𝗲𝗲𝗃𝗀𝗵𝘁𝗀𝗃 and I am a former Member of Parliament in the Philippines representing the Youth Party, and I'm also a member of the ASEAN Parliamentarians for Human Rights. And before I became a Member of Parliament, I was leader of the National Student Union. That is why I have heard about what happened in Bangladesh, the role also of the students and the student unions in protests and asserting the rights and welfare of the Bangladeshi people. And in our conversations yesterday with Chief Advisor Muhammad Yunus, he takes special note of the welfare and the role of young people also, especially in the context of many youth and the camps, because the Rohingya people fled their lands because of what's happening in their country. Now, the Rohingya youth are supposed to be considered as a vital part of efforts for peace building and the democratization of Myanmar. And we're banking on the attention being paid to on the youth by the Bangladeshi government so that we can have better efforts at burden sharing and also taking into consideration the education of the Rohingya youth. When we visited the camps and also talked to various stakeholders, I was alarmed by the very low literacy rate among those in the camps, among the refugees. And this creates actually bigger problems because when, even though there are Rohingya youth who can study basic education, the next problem would be how they can access higher education and eventually how they can have jobs because options are limited, and how can they also have decent livelihoods. Now, when this persists as a problem, when we deprive our young people of education and other social services, we are depriving them of their basic human rights. And depriving them of these rights, actually, although we don't want this to happen, but it will create favorable conditions to heighten the armed conflict that is already happening. And people, including the youth, will resort to what may be considered illegal to survive and to assert their demands. That is why when we talk about solving this crisis, education really plays a role. The Rohingya youth cannot remain trapped in a situation that they don't have access to accredited education and relevant skills training. Their future and any hope for durable solutions will only come and depend on the tools, equipping our youth with tools to live with dignity in the camps and to contribute in building a peace and democratic Myanmar. The Rohingya youth should not be treated as mere beneficiaries, but rather they should be considered as partners, as people with their own agency, with the potential to be the foundation for the safe repatriation of the people of Myanmar. To this end, we must provide our Rohingya youth with quality and relevant education so that they can be molded to become citizens that will develop a rights-respecting Myanmar with democratic policies in place, with an end to the rule of the military junta, and these youth will also be part of an economy that ensures everyone is productive and an economy that works for the oppressed. So to end my part, we call on ASEAN and all its member states to work closely with Bangladesh to pursue efforts that will make quality and relevant education accessible to the Rohingya youth, because that should not be neglected in solving this crisis. Thank you.
Can we take questions? Just introduce yourselves and which media you're coming from. And pose the question to anyone. I think I can. Since then, I think you have raised concerns and statements many times last year. And as you say that it is ASEAN's responsibility to take care of these people. And this problem is actually an ASEAN problem. So, what has been the impact of your cause over the years on this problem? Like, has there really been an improvement? Maybe we can take another question. If not, why?
If there are any other questions, I think we would like to take a couple of points and then there's a time to answer at once.
have one more before we answer the first one? I think I add to this question of China, because China has always been here in Myanmar. It has influence, it has influence, and it's also sort of playing, one against the other. For example, Arab against Muta or Muta against Arab group. So when it has this sort of transactional relationship, can maybe China help? Okay, sorry. Thanks for that question. As I said earlier, the 5-point consensus was first put forward in 2021. And the first item of the 5-point consensus is political dialogue. The first item of the 5-point consensus is political dialogue. Now, what that means is that ASEAN has a mandate to discuss with anybody, including its dialogue partners, and in order to solve the problem of democracy in Myanmar. So it is not only for Rakhine State on the Rohingyas, but it's also for other states where there are problems that are going on. So it involves everybody. But one of the key players in the ASEAN social dialogue is China. And China comes to Malaysia every year, or any ASEAN country that hosts for that particular year, and China's participation is seen as important.